The Holy Gospel according to St. John, the 12th chapter. Glory to you, O Lord. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, the one who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept the common purse and used to steal what was put into it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." The Gospel of the Lord. So today, we begin the week before Holy Week. Now, when you're a pastor, you use this week to make sure that everything is set for Holy Week, more or less, so that you can spend Holy Week simply helping people to worship. You don't need any extra projects, and you don't open up any cans of worms that you don't absolutely have to open. But stuff always comes up. And in the last couple of years, I have begun to develop a bit of a phobia about what might happen on the week before Holy Week. 2 years ago, on the week before Holy Week, I was pretty sure that I had things, pretty much set for Holy Week, but I was tired, so I decided to head for bed early. So I got up and I was walking to the stairs, and for some reason I just happened to look up at the ceiling of the hallway, and it was wet. And I thought, that ain't right. It's on the first floor of the house. Hasn't been raining. There's no pipes up there. So I stood there thinking about this quietly, and I heard tss. And over in the wall, I realized I had a pinhole leak. So I did not go to bed. I turned the water off. I went to Home Depot. I tried to find something to patch it, and it was a mess. But anyway, I spent the first several days of the week before Holy Week that year trying to fix plumbing in my house. Last year, I again thought things were pretty well under control, but one morning I got up and I got coffee and I let Phoenix out into the yard, and as I'm looking out into the yard way in the back, I see that about 30 feet of my fence has pretty much collapsed. It's only being held up by the compost bin in the back. And Phoenix is pretty good about respecting the barrier, but if I didn't do something right away, that fence was coming down. And so I spent several days on the week before Holy Week putting in new fence posts and fixing the fence. So this year I was wondering, what's going to happen now on the week before Holy Week? Well, another piece of the fence is falling down, but I've managed to brace that, and that'll hold for several more weeks. And besides, I got construction going on at my house, and that's more than enough for the week before Holy Week. Except that several of the contractors who just finished the roofing and the framing of my garage left me with enough material to replace the rotting shed, or the rotting roof on my shed in the back. And so I thought, you know what? It's the week before Holy Week. I'm going to hold on to this stuff, and I'm going to do this a couple of months from now. When things slow down, they don't actually, but I'm going to do it then. So I'll hold on to this stuff, and we'll just do it later. But as I'm considering this, it occurred to me that right now I have one other thing that has actually made me really, really excited. I have a big honking construction dumpster in my front yard, and I can ditch all the old roofing right now, but it won't be there a couple of months from now. So this year, on the week before Holy Week, I'm going to spend a couple of days replacing the roofing on the rotting roof shed. I really do not want to do this at all. I don't ever want to do this, but I realize that if I don't act now, I'm going to miss an opportunity that I am never going to have again. So I tell you all these stories because today's gospel story also occurs on the week before Holy Week. Literally in John's narrative, Jesus has arrived at the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus just before Palm Sunday, when he will enter Jerusalem. It really was just the week before Holy Week. And for Jesus and his friends, that means that the week before Holy Week was also the week before Passover. And so it was a time that nobody needed extra projects and when everybody was simply trying to focus on the chaos of the moment. After all, the week before Holy Week was the week that Jerusalem swelled with pilgrims coming for the Passover. Traffic was a mess. Historians estimate that Jerusalem's population on the week before Passover went from about 2,500, which was its normal population about that point, to over 10,000. Also, because of that, this was the week every year when Pontius Pilate, who usually camped out over by the Mediterranean, rode into town with 1,000 extra soldiers and camped out at the Fortress Antonia, which was literally adjacent to the Temple Mount, just in case anybody got any funny insurrection ideas. Besides all this, Jesus had raised Lazarus from the dead just a few weeks before, and John tells us that because of that, the temple authorities were actively seeking to have Jesus put to death. Oh, and if you read on a few more verses after today's reading, you find out that the temple authorities had also decided that they should try to kill Lazarus as well, because it was on account of him that people were believing in Jesus. So Mary, she had her hands full the week before Holy Week, with Passover preparation, dealing with the political upheaval in town, and wondering who she had to watch out for, who might be trying to kill her brother yet again. She didn't need any more projects or stuff to do. And yet, on the week before Holy Week, Jesus and his disciples, who had been staying out of town because of the threats against him, arrive at her home. But Mary and Martha do not ask them to come back a couple of weeks from now when things are a little quieter. Jesus is there with them now. And so they throw a dinner for everybody. And Mary, still deeply grateful for Jesus raising her brother, takes a pound of perfume, which costs the equivalent of a year's salary, and pours it over Jesus' feet. Mary totally stopped what she was doing and focused on the opportunity to be with Jesus and to thank Jesus. And it wasn't because she had nothing to do, or because chaos wasn't swirling around her, or because she was ever planning to do this that particular moment. She did it because she saw that God was giving her an opportunity that she might never get again. And so even though it was the week before Holy Week, and even in the midst of other important things, she refocused on something more important. And while we often remember Judas complaining about Mary, there's this whole little excursus about Judas here, none of the other disciples came to Mary's defense. Only Jesus points out that Mary has, in fact, taken advantage of an opportunity that will never come again, the opportunity to anoint Jesus for burial. I'm not sure that's exactly what Mary thought she was doing, but I do think Mary was unique in the cast of disciples that day, because in spite of the chaos of the week before Holy Week, she didn't let the chaos distract her from recognizing a unique opportunity Jesus presented, and then she was willing to stop what she was doing and take advantage of that opportunity. Now for you, the week before Holy Week may not be a week that's particularly busy or stressful for you, although if you are a CPA this year, it's also the week before tax day, so maybe it is. But Mary is a good example for all of us, especially when we face whatever time in our year feels like the week before Holy Week. Because it's often tempting at those moments to put on blinders and just try to get through the chaos and the busyness that faces us, whether it's the week before Holy Week or whatever time in your life seems filled with chaos and distraction, or with difficulty and fear, or with upheaval and uncertainty. And honestly, there are lots of those times lately for many of us. And in those times, when we really don't need or want any more projects or activities or stuff to think about, Jesus sometimes presents us with opportunities we may never get again. Perhaps it's an opportunity to serve in some special way, or to spend time with a friend or a loved one, or to do something that just seems too extravagant for the moment, but really needs to be done now, or you may never get another chance. You know, it strikes me that the whole biblical story in creation starts out not with nothing, but with chaos. That's actually the way Genesis begins. There is this chaos. And it's into the midst of the chaos that God acts and life begins. And that's often the way it is with the story of Jesus. Jesus arrives in the midst of people who are often in the midst of pain and difficulty, and even the chaos of the week before Holy Week. And when Jesus shows up, he brings new life into a situation. And often he does that by presenting opportunities that nobody was looking for or even thought were possible. And that's often still what Jesus does in our lives. Now, my hope for all of you is that Jesus' opportunities in your life feel more like Jesus showing up for dinner at your house than the sound of a pinhole leak. But on this week before Holy Week, and whatever other weeks in your life may seem like times when you really don't need anything else to do or any more distractions, be alert to how Jesus may be showing up in your life. Watch for opportunities from God that you may not have imagined, and be willing, and this is always the hardest part for me, to stop what you're doing and focus on the new things that Jesus is putting before you.